love the 3DS eShop. I sure hope nothing bad happens to it. Huh. I spoke too soon. I wonder what me in a year is gonna say about this. What did I think I was gonna say? I mean, I'm still angry.
You're angry you can't buy Mario and Donkey Kong minis on the move anymore?
You are sure as heck right I am. So, the Nintendo 3DS, my personal favorite device to just play on to pass the time when I'm bored, or to just in general play on because it has a lot of good games. But you know the games it has, yeah, you can't buy them anymore, sorry, we're not letting you buy them elsewhere, so go bleed yourself. This is a pretty big deal. All of Nintendo's main games, plus many digital-only games, are either being killed off digitally, but you can still buy them physically, or they're just fully being killed off then and there. Nintendo has done this before on the Wii Shop channel, but pretty much none of Nintendo's physical games were able to be purchased there, and most of the stuff that was there was more bite-sized and smaller compared to everything else. But not to say it still wasn't a big deal, because tons of games were just reduced to nothing all in one day. And also DS eShop has been shut down, but all its games were put on the 3DS eShop. So they're archived forever, right? If you thought they'd be archived forever, why did you click on a video called The Life and Death of the 3DS eShop? What's the logic there?
They're not the brightest.
So yeah, both the other ones weren't as big of a deal, since there wasn't a more convenient option to get the bigger games. But here, it's a super convenient option to buy a lot of these games digitally, because it's on this little small device, and removing that convenience factor from most of the bigger games is already really big. But it's even bigger when there's a lot of digital-only games that were only available on the eShop, and were actually on the same level as most of the physical games. Like seriously, Nintendo really stepped up the game when it came to games on 3DS eShop compared to previous consoles. But let's start with the virtual consoles. It naturally wasn't as big as the Wii's or even Wii U because of the 3DS being this tiny, so no N64, but Nintendo did do some incredible stuff with it beyond just NES and SNES. For one, they re-released Game Boy games for the very first time on this thing, which is huge, because most of these games have been stranded on this little tiny brick of a console. This included stuff like both Mario Lands, The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, and the dual-release games Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, and kind of late, but better late than never, Pokemon Red and Blue, which were actually released in 2018. Hi, hello there. I have a small correction. It was actually Pokemon Crystal that came out in 2018, not Red and Blue. They came out in 2016. Okay, back to normal. And all of this was huge with the games I just mentioned, among many others. Oddly enough, there was also Game Gear games, which is really surreal to see because the Game Gear was the direct competitor to the Game Boy. But the difference is, one lasted over 10 years, technically if you count the Game Boy brand as a whole, 14, and one lasted half of that, but like only 2 people have played the Game Gear. Nonetheless, it's still cool to see because of how hard it is to find these days, and yep, Nintendo sure did NES and SNES, but they do it on every system regardless, so it's not as interesting to mention. But there was a thing called 3D Classics. Yeah, 3D Classics was a series of only 6 NES games, all released at the beginning of the 3DS eShop in 2011. These games supported the use of 3D, adding a lot of depth to some games, but being kind of pointless to use in other cases. Regardless, half these were great, and the other half were there, except like 3D had 3D that actually added depth, and it's one of the few games on 3DS that really benefits from using it. Kirby's Adventure is also pretty cool, and adds some quality of life improvements too. Kid Icarus gets a pretty good upgrade with new backgrounds, which look pretty cool, and the other half is Urban Champion, a game that's notoriously known for just being not good, and 2 arcade games, which are both kind of fun, but pretty similar. Yeah, that list is kind of lackluster, but it's clear that the ones that were good were really good. And it's kind of a shame that this series never went past NES games, or even past 2011. Oh, and Sega actually did their own version of this with Genesis games, and it was actually pretty good. It basically took Genesis games and made it to where you play them in 3D, which is cool, but it's kind of just more Genesis re-releases. Let's stop talking about old crap that's now gone, and let's exclusively talk about stuff on 3DS that was only on the eShop that's now gone. First off, the Pushmo series, consisting of Pushmo, Crashmo, and Stretchmo, the last of which being free to play. They're all puzzle games. They all involve this little dude. I have a confession to make. I've only played the first one, but I still love the first one. It's a game where you pull out blocks to get to the top to save a child. That's a blob thing. And yes, it's a very simple concept. It can be pretty complex at times. It's really hard to explain, but it's just a very fun game. It even has a level creator where you can make your own levels, which is really cool. From what I can find, the sequel Crashmo lets you move the camera and has falling blocks, and the game after the Wii U one, Stretchmo, allows you to stretch the blocks. And it's free to play, so you get some levels free and some you have to pay for. And I've heard the games are good, and even harder than the first game. Now, I've only played 1/4 of this series, but the one that I have played is fun, and I'm devastated I missed out on the other game. It's really too bad there's not a way to get them legitimately anymore. The next series is Box Boy, which has a game on Switch too, so technically the series isn't fully gone, but most of it is. This game centers around a box, which can extend into more blocks, which it can place to platform on different areas, whether that being placing a bridge, a staircase, or sometimes grappling to other parts of the map, or many other circumstances that involve using block. Like, it is a game series with a lot of different ideas. It is stellar. Not exciting to play in any means. No, it's a very simple looking game. The only colors in the whole game are pretty much white and black, but the simplicity yet complexity is what makes it really fun. It's also made by the same people who make Kirby, so that's a pretty fun fact. Now, Dylan's Rolling Western. I'm not a big fan of this one. It has 3 games, none of which are my thing. It's a tower defense strategy game, but in 3D. It's a good idea for the genre, but I'm not really into these type of games in the first place, but I can appreciate it for what it's trying to do, and acknowledge that it has to be doing something right if it's in Smash. Next is one that is heartbreaking to me that's not able to be purchased anymore. Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix. Now, I have not played any other game in the series, but Mega Mix is stellar. Basically, Rhythm Heaven is a rhythm game based on minigames where you have to perform certain tasks to the beat. It is seriously a phenomenal game, and one I see myself popping on every once in a while just to have fun. And this game technically has a story. You have to get past these gates where you play these rhythm games, get a character named Tibby back to Heaven World because he fell. And it's not a really important part of the game, but I can appreciate it's here in the first place. So yeah, this is just a full-fledged high-quality game that's just been erased, unless you live in Europe. In that case, you have a physical copy. You Europeans don't realize how lucky you are. Now next, here's 2 attempts at Nintendo doing other free-to-play games. And no, neither of them are Steel Diver Sub Wars. You'll not see me talking about that until the day of my death.
But I wanted to hear about Steel Diver.
What about it? It has submarines, and it exists.
Yes.
Well, there you go. According to your definition, I just talked about Steel Diver Sub Wars. Are you happy?
No.
Well, cry about it. That's all you're getting. No, I'm talking Rusty's Real Deal Baseball and Pokemon Rumble World. Well, anyway, first, Rusty. Now, this game handles in-game purchases in a really smart way. You see, this game has a story where in each chapter, in some way, you help the main character that isn't you, Rusty, by giving him items. And he runs a shop where you can buy minigames with real money. But you see, there's a catch. There's a pre-established price, but by giving him donuts for any other item, you can lower the price even more. Until you can get these minigames for like $2 or $1, which is actually a pretty good deal. And the minigames themselves are high-score minigames, and they center around sports, and they're fun distractions. I like to play them. But the real meat of the game is the story. And just seeing Rusty's life get better is really nice to see. And Rusty is one of the best characters in all gaming. Now, Pokemon Rumble World, which is part of the Pokemon Rumble series, which is basically just mashing the A button to kill enemies, and it's not that deep and sometimes dull, but this one and the Wii one, I like playing every now and then to pass the time. But the thing here is to progress, you need gems. And yes, you can get them by just playing the game, kind of, and waiting, but more conveniently, they can just be flat out bought with real money, which is the most mobile game-like move Nintendo has pulled on the 3DS, which, I mean, is fine. And the game itself isn't all too different from the Wii entry, but still fun, I'd say. Game Freak, the developers of Pokemon, also made some non-Pokemon 3DS stuff on here. Pocket Card Jockey, which apparently is coming to Apple Arcade, so scratch that, it's not gone, it's just coming to a service that nobody has, and Harmonite. And I haven't played either of these, but I can respect Game Freak for trying to do something new. There's also some exclusive Kirby stuff. Kirby Fighters, Blow Up Blast, and DDD's Drum Dash. One being a rhythm game, one being a fighting game, both of those being based off modes in Kirby Triple Deluxe, and Blow Up Blast kind of being a 3D Kirby game before Forgotten Land, but also kind of not, because it is really limited. None of them are phenomenal in any means, but they're fun little Kirby romps to play every now and then. There's also Chibi Robo Photo Find. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, what the heck is a Chibi Robo, and why is he finding photos? Well, I'll tell you, Chibi Robo is a neglected Nintendo franchise centered around a tiny robot, and in this game you have to get blueprints, which allow you to take pictures of a specific object in your home and put it into the game inside a tiny little museum, which is a kind of cool concept, but not as fun in execution, especially the chores you have to do to collect currency to buy the blueprints. They're just not fun. Yeah, you have to do jobs to get paid, and most of them are tedious and boring, and this game is definitely better than Ziplash, but not good either. Finally, 2 games were exclusive to My Nintendo, Nintendo's secret reward program to Club Nintendo. Flipnote Studio 3D, which was also available on Club Nintendo before it bled out and died, and Twilight Princess Picross. Now, Flipnote Studio 3D is an art program where you can draw simple animations, and I'm not a very good drawer, so many of my animations don't look that good, but I still like using it from time to time if I just want to do something creative for a moment. And Twilight Princess Picross. It's Picross with a Zelda theme. It's fine. I'm not a big Picross guy, so this one isn't really for me, but I still redeemed it because frick it, I guess, I don't know. And yeah, that's most of the good stuff. Antique Robo, that is now gone. And it's depressing because this is some pretty quality stuff, man. But what if I said you could still get these games legitimately?
That's a lie.
Yeah, that's a lie. You're gonna have to mod your console. Yes, Homebrew. What Nintendo views as a plague and what Nintendo 3DS users view as heaven. Basically, if you hack your 3DS, you can get an application called eShop, which basically allows you to download any 3DS game you want. Now, let me just put a warning here for legal reasons. Just because you can download all these games doesn't mean shit, especially because a lot of them are available physically. Now, for games that aren't available physically, arguably it's fine because they're not being sold, so how else are you going to get them? And that's how I've been able to obtain, like, one game that isn't available called Freaky Forms. It's okay. This is the reason I didn't mention it. But I feel like you should just download games that aren't available or DLC, because legally, I don't think it's right to be promoting piracy of something that I can probably find in a thrift store or nearby or on eBay sometimes. There's a lot of listings on there that are expensive, but some that aren't. And heck, maybe they'll be on Amazon. But the one game I absolutely accept piracy of is Snoopy's Grand Adventure. Nintendo won't even flinch if you do that. For legal reasons, that's a joke. But in all seriousness, the 3DS eShop had a lot of good games, and it's really sad to see it go, but from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense. There's not a lot of people using the 3DS anymore, so why keep it open?
But I can still pirate Steel Diver Sub Wars, right?
Nobody gives a crap about Steel Diver Sub Wars, Siri.
But it's my favorite game I've never played.
Does it look like I care?
No, but the law does.
So, you guys take bribes? You know, Siri, if I didn't pirate Snoopy's Grand Adventure and Freaky Forms, we probably wouldn't be here right now.